Alright, taking a few more things off and I'll just show you a few things that I've found. This nut here, which is on the end of the drive for the pump, the oil pump and the distributor shaft here, this nut was really tight on mine, and you've got to have all this gubbins on in place, else when you try and undo the nut it just slides this gear off the shaft and it doesn't do anything. So I had to put the spacer on and the cone and all that and the nut back on to keep that in place to get the nut undone. And there's the nut, and it's got a little keyway type thing. That's a lock tab. I've got this off. This is the lower, get confused now because I've had the engine upside down and so on, but this is the lower chain guide, and no lock tabs on there. In fact, there's only a spring washer on one of those and nothing on the other, so I might bridge that with a lock tab. Let's see what that's been wearing. It's been chattering on the back where it's been hitting the case there. Here's the chain, well, my chain tensioner, which is a old-fashioned sort, just a piece of spring steel. Well, it seems to have been working, except the spring has broke. And this is held on place. That goes onto a peg, this peg here on the engine, and then the spring slides through and holds that in place, and it should come down to this one here and go through that slot and hold it in place, and that just rolls on the casing there. This is all off now. So it's 4 bolts, 2 bolts. These have got a slot in to get a screwdriver on, and behind this plate is a washer spacer. I don't know if that's right, but that's what I've got here. And to get to some of these, you can't get directly onto some of these bolts with a socket or a spanner, particularly on the chain guide. So take your cheapest 1/2 inch 30mm spanner and put some grips on the end, and that does that. And for those who are interested, these 4 bolts hold it onto the casing. Where is it now? I saw some red paint on one of these. That'll be the last one, won't it? I'm just going to pause that for a minute. Okay, here we go. So these bolts here, these are about 2 1/4. These, I couldn't see any paint on that one, but probably was. So those are those bolts there, 2 1/4. And these, which are 1 inch, which are those bolts with the slotted head. So this is an exploded view of the distributor and oil pump drive. So this shaft just taps out when you've got everything off. This will just tap out from the bottom of the engine upwards. And then on this side we've got a spacer, then we've got a gear, then we've got a lock tab, then we've got the nut, then we've got this round come square drive that drives the oil pump. Almost time to get the crank out. This is the back of the engine. There's 2 Allen screws in there. That lifts out on a couple of dowels, and I guess that'll only go in one way, but the shape of that base matches the shape of that base on the engine. I've got all these these bolts out. I've tried to measure down here, there's some thrust washers in there, and I can't get any sort of feeler in there, that's tight. And I've taken this first cap off, the main cap. That's the shell and the crank. So we get that off and get it measured. Alright, just fetching these off now, and it's worth just checking that this number here corresponds with the number on this bit, whatever it's called. And the centre one, main bearing caps. So the centre one, you've got thrust washers, and I'm expecting on this engine just to be on this face here and not on the face beneath. We'll see anyway. But you've got a flat on one side and two slots on the other side, and the slots go against the crank. Here's the core plugs out. This is, well, out on one side. This is the back one. Middle. That's quite solid there, that stuff. And this one is the front one. The plugs, self-tapper and a lever gets those out quite easily. So I'll have a look at the other side. Okay, now looking at the right hand side of the engine. That one was quite clean. This one, tough to get out. I can feel a lot of muck in there. And this one looks fairly clean, so I'll give those a good poke around, see what I can find. As you can imagine, I got a load of crud out of this engine, and I don't know if this test will prove anything, but there's the hole for the water pump, and I've dried the engine off as best I can with a blow line, and down that bank there, which is the carburettor side, it's as dry as I can get it, so put some water into there, and this is filling up on the exhaust side. There, and that's full. And I can't see any water down. No extra water anyway. Try that again. Pouring out that one, that's obviously lower than the others.